for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much for being here today. This is a critical issue to me. This is a critical issue for my district, and I think for the national security of this country. I represent the 6th District of Florida in North Florida, and spent our Easter work period visiting Daytona Beach State College, where they have a vocational and STEM training program, also Pine Ridge High School, which has, where we had a skills forum, Bethune-Cookman, which is a historically black college that received university status in 2007, located in Daytona Beach, and of course Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I appreciate everyone's thoughts today at how to get at this and how to do this better. I just want to emphasize, again, I'm also on the Armed Services Committee. We are dealing with a situation abroad where we need to combat extremism, both abroad and at home, but also our near peer and our peer competitors in China and Russia, and STEM's critical to both. And I have said and will continue to say that when we look at the extremism problem, where women thrive in countries abroad and in communities here, where they are thriving in civil society, where they're thriving in politics, where they're thriving in business, extremism doesn't. It's squashed. That is something, so we just need to get this out of the domestic, I think, forum and get it squarely as a national security issue. I would want to know if you all agree with me there, number one. And then number two is we're looking at the 21st century space race, which is near and dear to what we're dealing with in Florida and also in the Armed Services Committee. We don't have a workforce, and we're not creating a workforce to compete. And that is alarming. We're going from $500 billion in a space economy to $2.7 trillion. That will be dependent on space. The average person touches space dozens of times a day and doesn't even realize it, whether it's banking, markets, navigation, you name it. So question one for you. The president or the administration issued a report charting the course for success, America's strategy for STEM education. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that, December 2018. If you have had a chance to see it, I'd love to know, Dr. Malcolm, I see you nodding your head yes. What do you agree with? What do you think could be improved? What are your thoughts on this strategy the administration just put out?
There are two major points to the strategy. One is the focus on workforce, and the other is the focus on diversity. And I would absolutely agree with both of them. I think that the major issue is, though, how do we get there? And I think that there is a pulling the pieces together across our agencies is necessary, but it's not sufficient. The STEM workforce is a national workforce, and yet we basically don't think nationally when we do this. In Ohio, they look at the Ohio State University, but they also look at Ohio University and Akron and Toledo and all of the community colleges to fill in that space. And I think that this notion about how do these pieces come together is the reason that I have basically focused on a strategy to try to operate at scale, because we can't do this just one piece at the time. And I do hope that we will start to focus in on how that piece actually overlays with these larger issues of pulling the rest of the pieces together.
Do you think the report does a sufficient job at describing programmatically how the federal government can help and assist states get at this issue, or do you think it's lacking, or where?
I think it's not enough.
Federally, what can we do from this position? I understand the states have a huge role, universities, academia, local, and personally, I think that's where education decisions should be made. But what can we do to support specifically, just in the time that I have, or reinforce that we're already doing?
Well, I think that a lot of the programs that are already in place are actually need to be kind of revisited in terms of how they help the institutions put the pieces together. But I also think that the business community has a major role to play
Completely
as a
agree.
partner in all of this, and try to put these strategies together in a way that is really coherent. And some of that is, I think, part of the intention around includes from the National Science Foundation. But again, it is necessary, but it is not sufficient.
I think we're doing a great job here of describing the problem. I would love any follow-up you could send to my office on specific solutions that you've seen that are effective, or ones that we're currently, frankly, throwing resources at that are ineffective. So I certainly welcome that.
I look forward to it.
So just one specific idea, and it's in my written testimony and maybe outside the scope of this committee, but one low-hanging fruit, I believe, is encouraging the Defense Department to leverage its ROTC program to help build a stronger, diverse workforce and tapping into that talent pool. So, for example, the junior ROTC, it serves about 500,000 students, secondary students. Most often, they're very diverse and underrepresented minority students. By being able to go to that talent pool and bring in STEM and IoT, Internet of Things, or cybersecurity as a curriculum to those students, I think is a very low-hanging fruit item.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And